Rex learned about salvage before she could walk. Her earliest memories were of floating in zero-G, tiny magnetic boots keeping her anchored while her mother stripped useful components from abandoned ships. Other kids had bedtime stories about princes and dragons. Rex had tales of clever engineers who could make dead ships fly again, of pioneers who built the first colonies from scattered pieces of broken dreams. "Everything wants to grow," her mother would say, deftly removing a power coupling that most would consider worthless. Even broken things, sometimes especially broken things. Sarah Rex Cooper had been a legend among salvage crews, known for seeing patterns others missed. She could look at a field of debris and understand how each piece wanted to move, how different technologies could work together in ways their original designers never imagined. More importantly, she could teach others to see it too. "Watch the energy flows," she'd tell 6-year-old Rex, guiding her small hands over a damaged circuit board. "Feel how it wants to move. Technology isn't dead, it remembers what it was meant to do. Sometimes it just needs help finding new ways to do it." They lived on the pattern recognition back then, though the ship had a different name. The Copper's Dream, their home and workplace, a vessel that Sarah had built from 17 different salvaged crafts. Rex grew up learning every system, understanding how technologies from different species could work together if you just listened to what they were telling you. "Most people think salvage is about taking things apart," Sarah would say during their lessons. "But that's only half of it. The real art is putting things together in new ways, finding the harmonies between different systems, the ways they can make each other stronger." Rex was 10 when she made her first major discovery. While playing in a debris field, carefully tethered and suited, under her mother's watchful eye, she found what looked like a broken quantum core. The crystalline collective had discarded it, declaring it corrupted because its perfect geometric structure had been altered by a solar flare. But Rex saw something different. "Mom," she called over the comm, "this one's singing." Sarah came over, her salvage suit a patchwork of different materials that worked better than any standard issue. She examined the core through her modified scanner, then laughed in delight. "Oh, clever girl," she said. "You're right. The flare didn't corrupt it, it changed its resonance pattern. This core isn't broken, it's evolved." That discovery led to 3 months of experiments. They found other, corrupted cores, studying how their altered structures created new energy patterns. Sarah documented everything, building a database of how damaged technology could adapt and change. "The collective would never understand this," she told Rex one night, watching their salvaged cores pulse with synchronized light. "They think perfection means never changing, but look at nature, nothing stays the same. Everything adapts, evolves, finds new ways to survive." Rex learned other lessons too: how to read the subtle signs of failing systems before they broke, how to coax life back into technology others had declared dead, how to see the potential in everything, no matter how broken it seemed. When Rex was 14, Sarah took on their biggest project yet. A massive carrier vessel, abandoned after a navigation error sent it through an electromagnetic storm. The ship systems were fried, its perfect crystalline structure warped beyond recognition. "The collective wouldn't even try to salvage this," Sarah said as they made their first inspection. "They'd say it's too corrupted, too changed from its original design." "But we're going to fix it?" Rex asked, already seeing possibilities in the damaged systems. Sarah smiled behind her faceplate. "No, honey. We're going to let it become something new." They spent 6 months on that project, living in the damaged vessel as they worked. Sarah taught Rex how to integrate different technologies, how to use the ship's corrupted systems as advantages rather than flaws. The crystalline structure, altered by the storm, could channel energy in ways its designers had never imagined. "Remember this," Sarah said when they finally had the ship running again. "Nothing is ever truly broken. Everything can be rebuilt, repurposed, reborn. Sometimes what others see as damage is really just the first step toward something better." Rex never forgot those lessons. Not when Sarah died 2 years later, her salvage suit finally failing after one too many patches. Not when Rex inherited the pattern recognition, the ship they'd rebuilt together, named for Sarah's gift of seeing patterns in chaos. Not when she began building her own crew, teaching them what her mother had taught her. "Everything wants to grow," she'd said. "Even broken things. Sometimes especially broken things." 20 years later, Rex stood at the viewport of the pattern recognition, watching the crystalline collective's ships drift by in perfect formation. Their hulls caught starlight like faceted diamonds, each angle calculated to mathematical precision. Beautiful in their way, but static, dead. She touched the viewport's frame, feeling the familiar harmonies of salvage tech working together. Somewhere out there, hidden in the debris fields the collective didn't bother to scan, her mother's lessons were about to change everything. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity could build from the things others threw away. The first thing Rex learned about salvage was that nothing was ever truly broken. Her mother taught her that, back when they were scratching out a living in the Europa colonies. Every piece of tech had potential, you just had to see the patterns, understand how things wanted to flow. The crystalline collective never understood that. Their ships hung in formation above her now, pristine geometrical shapes that caught starlight like diamonds. Beautiful, sure, but lifeless, static. Their spokesperson's voice crackled through her comm with that familiar tone of disdain. "They're hailing us again," Martinez called from his station. Her deck officer's dark features were illuminated by the soft glow of recycled displays. Each screen salvaged from a different vessel, but working together in harmony. "Wanna bet it's another cease and desist?" "No bet," Rex said, running her fingers along the viewport's frame. Like everything else on the pattern recognition, it was a patchwork of different technologies. The seal was made from modified medical gel, the glass itself a composite of salvaged materials that worked better than the original. Put them through. The collective representative appeared on their main screen, its crystalline features arranged in what Rex had come to think of as their dealing with primitives expression. They didn't have faces the way humans did, but rather geometric patterns that shifted to convey meaning. This particular pattern screamed barely contained disdain. "Salvage vessel," the representative began, managing to make the word salvage sound like a personal insult. "Your operation has been deemed hazardous to shipping lanes. The collective requires immediate cessation of all collection activities in Sector 7. Rex smiled, watching a piece of twisted hull plate drift past her viewport. The aliens couldn't see the possibilities hiding in its warped surface, the way its altered structure could deflect radiation better than their precision-engineered shields. "Their loss, received collective," she said, already plotting her next dive into the debris field. "We'll wrap up operations within the standard cycle." Behind her, she heard Anna trying to suppress a laugh. Her sensor specialist had been with her longest, understood exactly what wrapping up operations meant in Rex speak. They'd be here until they found what they needed, collective warnings be damned. The comm clicked off without farewell. Rex turned to her crew, all 5 of them, each chosen for their ability to see treasure where others saw trash. Anna had already started mapping the field's drift patterns, her augmented eyes gleaming as she processed data streams. The implants were salvaged tech, obviously, modified hegemony visual processors that let her see patterns others missed. Kai worked the Waldos, his fingers dancing across haptic controls as he guided their latest find into the cargo hold. The mechanical arms extending from their ship were a mess of different technologies, each one chosen for specific tasks. They looked chaotic compared to the collective's pristine equipment, but they could handle delicate operations their superior tech couldn't touch. "They're getting nervous," Martinez said, still studying the collective ships. He had a gift for reading between the lines of alien communications, for seeing the subtle shifts in their crystal patterns that betrayed emotion. "That's the 3rd warning this month." "They should be," Rex said, watching their salvage net drag in another cluster of debris. "Did you see their supply ships, those new crystal matrix engines they're so proud of?" Martinez nodded. "Beautiful pieces of work. Saw them at Port Haven last week. Those engines use rare Earth elements for their containment fields, elements they can only get from 3 systems." Rex pulled up the cargo manifest on her slate, another modified piece of tech, its surface a patchwork of different materials that somehow worked better than standard units. And 2 of those systems just went dark. That got everyone's attention. Even Junie looked up from her engineering station, where she'd been dissecting their latest find, some kind of quantum stabilizer that the collective had tossed after a single use. Junie's dark hands moved with practiced precision, her fingers tracing circuits that most would consider dead. But Rex had seen her work miracles with less. Dark how? Anna asked, though her augmented eyes suggested she already knew. The official story is temporary manufacturing delays, Rex snorted, but my contacts in the fringe say both mining operations just stopped. No explanation, no warning. Just shut down orders from the top. Martinez whistled low. That's why they want us out of here. They're doing a resource survey. Exactly, Rex stood, stretching muscles cramped from too many hours in the pilot's chair. Her suit, a patchwork of salvaged materials like everything else, adjusted to her movement, its systems working together despite their disparate origins. They're realizing their perfect system has a flaw. They need raw materials, but they only use pristine sources. Virgin ores, untouched elements. While we're out here scooping up everything they throw away, Junie finished, grinning. Her teeth flashed white against dark skin, a smile that had charmed more than one customs official into looking the other way. Including enough rare earth elements in their discarded tech to build 10 times the engines they're struggling to manufacture. Rex walked to the viewport, watching the debris field spiral out into darkness. They literally throw away everything they need, then wonder why their supply chains are failing. She touched the glass, tracing the path of a tumbling piece of tech that probably cost more than her whole ship. The collective would rather let it drift into a sun than see it repurposed. The thought of used materials offended their sense of purity. Rex remembered her mother's hands, calloused and sure, teaching her how to read the story of salvaged tech, how to feel the way power wanted to flow, to understand that imperfections weren't flaws but opportunities. The collective would never understand that. They couldn't see the poetry in broken things, the potential in what they called corruption. How long, Martinez asked quietly. Before their entire manufacturing system crashes, Rex shrugged. 6 months, maybe less. They've got stockpiles, but they're burning through them fast, and when they run dry. She didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what happened to civilizations that couldn't adapt. The galaxy was littered with their remnants, beautiful shells of dead empires that had refused to change. We're not stopping salvage operations, are we? Anna said, her augmented eyes cycling through scan patterns. Each sweep revealed more treasures in the debris field, more possibilities the collective had thrown away. No, Rex smiled, watching her crew's faces light up with understanding. We're expanding them. Remember that project we've been working on, the one everyone said was impossible. Junie actually laughed, the sound bouncing off the pattern recognition's patchwork walls. The forbidden tech. The stuff that gave the collectives inspectors fits. That's the one. Rex pulled up a new set of coordinates, watching them flash across her slate's modified display. Time to show them what humans can build from broken things. She looked at her crew, really looked at them. 5 people, each marked by their work in different ways. Anna with her salvaged eye implants, seeing deeper patterns than any natural vision could detect. Junie's hands, scarred and steady, capable of coaxing life from dead tech. Kai, whose neural interface let him feel through the Waldos like they were his own fingers. Martinez, with his gift for reading alien intentions, and Sarah, their newest member, still learning to see treasure in trash. They were all modified in some way, all changed by their work with salvaged tech. The collective would call them corrupted, impure. Rex saw only adaptation, evolution, the endless human drive to become more than they were. Plot a course for Haven's shadow, she told Martinez. We've got an empire to build. The pattern recognition's engines hummed to life. Their recycled power cores singing harmonies that would have horrified the collective's engineers. Each component came from a different source, each piece modified to work with the others. The result wasn't pretty by collective standards, but it was alive in a way their ships never could be. Multiple contacts, Anna reported as they approached their destination. Collective patrol vessels maintaining standard search pattern. They're looking for something. They're looking for us, Rex said. Or rather, what we've been building out here. Haven's shadow wasn't marked on any official maps. In the space behind Haven Port's pristine towers, where the collective sensors didn't bother to look, humans had been working for years, building something that would either save the collective civilization or shatter their worldview completely. Probably both. Sarah, Rex called to their newest crew member, time for your first real lesson in salvage work. Come here. The young woman approached, her movements still slightly awkward in 0G. She hadn't grown up in space like Rex. hadn't learned to dance with debris fields before she could walk. But she had the eye, the ability to see potential where others saw only waste. "Look there," Rex said, pointing to a seemingly random collection of floating junk. "What do you see?" Sarah squinted, then her eyes widened as the pattern emerged. It's not random, is it? Those pieces, they're arranged, connected somehow." "Good," Rex smiled, remembering her mother teaching her the same lesson. "What else?" "The way they're moving." Sarah leaned closer to the viewport. "It's like they're growing, building themselves into something." "That's the garden," Rex said softly. 3 years of work, hundreds of salvage crews, all building piece by piece, taking what the collective threw away and making it into something new. Something they never imagined was possible. The debris field stretched out before them, but now Sarah could see what Rex had always known was there. Patterns in the chaos, purpose in the discarded tech. A vast, growing structure that looked like random junk to untrained eyes. "But how?" Sarah asked. "How did you know it would work?" Rex touched her slate, bringing up schematics that would make collective engineers weep. "Because everything wants to grow, even broken things. We just had to listen to what the tech was telling us, understand how it wanted to change." She remembered the first tests, the failures and breakthroughs. How they discovered that quantum cores the collective discarded for impurities actually worked better when linked together. How salvaged hull plates, twisted by stellar phenomena, could channel energy in ways pristine materials couldn't match. "The collective thinks technology should be perfect, unchanging," Rex continued. "They use it once and throw it away at the first sign of wear. But we know better. We know that adaptation, change, even damage can make things stronger. More versatile." She gestured at the garden, at the vast network they'd built from cast-offs and broken dreams. "We're not just recycling materials. We're letting technology evolve." Sarah's eyes were wide with understanding. "And they have no idea, do they? The collective. They can't see it because they don't want to believe it's possible." "Oh, they're about to find out," Rex said, watching collective patrol ships draw closer to their position. "One way or another, they're going to learn what humans can build from the things they throw away." The pattern recognition glided deeper into Haven's shadow, its patchwork systems humming in harmony with the vast structure they'd created. Around them, other salvage ships emerged from hiding places in the debris field. Each vessel was unique, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptation. "Multiple ships powering up weapons," Anna reported, her augmented eyes tracking energy signatures. "They're not taking chances this time." Rex nodded. "They've finally realized something's happening out here. Junie, start warming up the garden. Kai, deploy the stabilizers. Sarah, watch carefully. This is what salvage work is really about." The garden began to wake. It started slowly, points of light flickering to life in the darkness. Those flawed power cores the collective had discarded, their quantum entanglement now turned to purpose. Energy began to flow through salvaged conduits, each imperfection in their structure creating unique resonance patterns. "They're scanning us," Anna reported, her augmented eyes tracking multiple data streams. "And there. They've noticed the power signatures. They're calling for backup." "How long?" Rex asked, though she already knew the answer. She'd planned this moment for years. 3 minutes until their reinforcements arrive. "They're pulling ships from all over Haven Port." Anna's expression was fierce in the glow of her displays. "This is it, isn't it? We're finally showing them." Rex nodded, watching more of her crew's salvage ships emerge from hiding. Each vessel was different, a unique combination of repurposed technology. Together, they formed a loose circle around the heart of the garden, protecting what they'd built. The first collective ship that reached them was a standard enforcement vessel, all gleaming crystal angles and perfect symmetry. Rex watched it approach on their modified sensors, noting how its pilot carefully avoided the drifting debris. To them, this was a navigation hazard. To her, it was the most sophisticated defensive grid ever built from salvaged parts. "They're hailing," Martinez said quietly. "All ships at once. Put them through." The main screen lit up with multiple collective faces, their geometric patterns shifting in what Rex recognized as extreme agitation. In the center was a first administrator, their crystalline features more complex than any Rex had seen before. "What is the meaning of this?" the administrator demanded. "These power signatures, this is impossible. These materials were marked for disposal. They are corrupted, useless." Are they? Rex interrupted. Look closer. Look at what we've built with your cast-offs, with the technology you were too proud to repurpose. She nodded to Junie, who initiated the next phase of power-up. Throughout the garden, salvaged processors began their calculations. Discarded crystal matrices, their structures altered by use and damage in ways the collective couldn't comprehend, lit up with new purpose. And in the space above Haven Port, reality flickered. By the first light, someone on the collective ships whispered, That's impossible." Rex watched with quiet pride as the garden created its first stable wormhole. It was small, just large enough for a shuttle to pass through, but it was only the beginning. The quantum entanglement in those flawed cores, linked together in ways their original designers never imagined, could create a network of stable passages throughout collective space. How, the administrator demanded. These materials are impure, damaged, they cannot. Cannot what? Rex asked. Cannot work, cannot evolve, cannot become something new. She gestured at the wormhole, at the vast structure that had created it. Your civilization is dying because you can't see past your obsession with perfection. You throw away anything that shows signs of change, of adaptation. But change isn't corruption, it's growth. The administrator's features shifted through complex patterns, their perfect geometry disturbed by what they were seeing. Our analysts project total system failure within 6 months, they said finally. Our supply chains are collapsing because you waste more than you use, Rex finished. But we can help you change that, if you're willing to learn from scavengers. She moved closer to the screen, letting them see her clearly. Her salvaged tech, her modified systems, all the ways humans had adapted and grown stronger. Everything wants to grow, she said, quoting her mother's words. Even broken things, sometimes especially broken things. The administrator was silent for a long moment, their crystalline features cycling through patterns Rex had never seen before. Around them, other collective officials seemed frozen in shock, their perfect symmetry disturbed by the implications of what they were seeing. Your wormhole, one of them said finally. It's stable, but the energy requirements should be. Impossible, Junie cut in, unable to keep quiet any longer. Only if you think every component has to be pristine. Look at your quantum cores, really look at them. The ones you throw away because of impurities. Those imperfections create natural entanglement points. Link them together right, and they're 10 times more efficient than your perfect ones. Rex watched understanding dawn in their crystalline features. Show them the rest, she ordered. Throughout the garden, more systems came online. Salvaged hull plates channeled energy in ways their original designers never intended. Modified sensor arrays created interference patterns that should have been impossible. Each piece of garbage performed functions the collective had never imagined. We've been watching your civilization die, Rex said softly. Watching you throw away everything you need to survive, all because you think used means useless. Damaged means dead. But look around you. Look at what we've built from your cast-offs. The garden hummed with power, its jury-rigged systems working in perfect harmony. The wormhole stabilized further, its edges becoming crisp and clear. Through it, they could see another sector of space, a journey that would normally take weeks accomplished in an instant. Your ships, the administrator said slowly, they're all different, modified. How do you maintain standardization? How do you ensure reliability without perfect components? Rex smiled. We adapt, we learn. We let our technology evolve. Every ship out here is unique because every crew finds different solutions, different ways to make things work. That's not a weakness. It's the greatest strength we have. She could see the conflict in their features, the way their perfect geometric patterns struggled with these new concepts. The collective had built their entire civilization on the idea of unchanging perfection. The thought that imperfection could be an advantage, that change could make things stronger. It went against everything they believed. But they couldn't deny what they were seeing. Your supply chains are failing, Rex continued, because you're looking for perfect solutions, virgin materials, pristine technology, but the universe doesn't work that way. Everything changes. Everything adapts, everything grows. She gestured at the garden, at the salvage ships surrounding it. We can show you how to use what you've been throwing away, how to build something new from something old, how to let your technology evolve instead of just replacing it. The administrator's features shifted again, settling into a pattern Rex had never seen before. "And what do you want in return?" "Want," Rex laughed. "We're not trying to bargain. We're trying to save you from your own perfectionism. Because that's what humans do. We fix things. We heal things. We find ways to make broken pieces whole again." She thought of her mother, of all the lessons learned in those early days of salvage. The way she'd taught Rex to see possibility in everything, to understand that growth often came from unexpected places. "The only question," she said, "is whether you're ready to learn." The next few hours were controlled chaos as more collective ships arrived. Not to threaten, but to study. Their sensors probed every aspect of the garden, their crystalline crews struggling to understand how this impossible construction of cast-off parts could function so effectively. "They're requesting permission to send engineering teams," Martinez reported, barely containing his amusement. "3 different administrative sections want priority access." Rex watched through the viewport as collective vessels maneuvered carefully through the debris field, their perfect formations broken by necessity. They had to adapt just to navigate here, their first lesson in the value of imperfection. "Tell them they're welcome," she said, "but they'll have to wear our suits. Their pristine equipment can't handle the environment we work in." Junie snorted from her engineering station. "Can you imagine their faces when they have to put on patched suits?" "They'll adapt," Rex said, surprising herself with how certain she felt. "They have to. Look at them out there, they're already changing." She was right. Through the pattern recognition's enhanced sensors, she could see collective crews modifying their scanning equipment, jury-rigging solutions to get better readings on the garden's unusual energy patterns. They were clumsy attempts at adaptation, but they were trying. "Multiple incoming transmissions," Anna reported, her augmented eyes tracking data streams. "There, Rex, they're sending us their disposal manifests. Every piece of corrupted tech they've discarded in the last 5 years, asking if we can. They want to know if we can show them how to repurpose it all." Rex felt something tight in her chest loosen. They were starting to understand. Not completely, not yet, but the seed was planted. "Send them our basic salvage protocols," she ordered. "The beginner stuff, how to identify potential in damaged tech, basic repurposing techniques. Let's see what they do with it." The response was immediate. Throughout Haven's shadow, collective ships began carefully collecting pieces of debris they would have destroyed hours earlier. Their crews moved awkwardly, unused to handling corrupted materials, but they were learning. "Rex," Sarah called from her station, "you should see this. One of their engineers, they're trying to modify their own sensors, actually taking them apart and rebuilding them with salvaged components." Rex moved to Sarah's screen, watching as a collective engineer struggled to integrate different technologies. Their movements were uncertain, but there was determination in the set of their crystalline features. "Help them," Rex said softly. "Show them how to feel the way the energy wants to flow." Sarah opened a channel, her voice gentle as she guided the alien engineer through basic salvage techniques. Rex watched with pride as her newest crew member taught lessons she'd learned only recently herself. "First administrator is hailing again," Martinez reported. The administrator's features had changed subtly since their last conversation. The perfect geometric patterns were still there, but they seemed less rigid somehow, as if the crystalline structure itself was learning to adapt. "Captain Rex," they said, and this time there was no condescension in the title. "Our preliminary analysis suggests we may have been operating under flawed assumptions about technological efficiency." Rex bit back a smile. "Oh, these modified components, these salvaged systems, they're achieving results our perfect materials cannot match. The energy patterns alone." They paused, their features shifting in what Rex now recognized as deep thought. "We have much to learn." "Yes," Rex said simply. "You do. Starting with this, perfection isn't about being flawless. It's about finding beauty in the flaws, strength in adaptation, and possibility in everything others throw away." She looked out at the garden, at the quantum networks they'd built from discarded cores, at the wormhole gates crafted from salvaged tech, at the future they'd grown in the shadow of a civilization that had finally learned to look deeper. "Your ships," she continued, "your technology, they're not just tools, they're alive in their own way. They grow, adapt, change. Fighting that natural evolution is what's killing your civilization." but if you learn to work with it instead of against it. The administrator's features shifted again, forming patterns that would have been impossible for their kind just hours ago. We would like to propose a formal alliance, they said, one that recognizes human expertise in adaptive engineering. Rex raised an eyebrow. An alliance. As equals, they clarified quickly, we find ourselves unwilling to return to our old ways. These new patterns, these possibilities we never saw before. They gestured at the garden. We require teachers. Teachers, Rex repeated, tasting the word. She thought of her mother, of all the lessons passed down, of how teaching others to see potential in broken things was as much a part of salvage work as the technical skills. We can do that, but you have to be willing to get your hands dirty, to work with imperfect materials, to fail sometimes. The administrator's features shifted in what might have been a smile. We are learning to appreciate the value of imperfection. Over the next few days, Haven's shadow transformed from a hidden salvage operation into something unprecedented, a joint human collective engineering academy. Salvage crews worked alongside collective engineers, teaching them to see technology in new ways. Rex watched from the pattern recognition's bridge as another group of collective students arrived, their crystalline forms no longer quite so rigidly geometric. They wore modified environmental suits now, each one showing signs of adaptation and repair. They're learning faster than I expected, Junie admitted, watching a collective engineer successfully integrate 3 different types of technology into a working sensor array. That one there, they actually improved on my design for power distribution. Of course they did, Rex said. Once they let go of their need for perfection, they started seeing possibilities we missed. That's the point of all this. Everyone has something to teach, something to learn. Anna's augmented eyes tracked energy patterns across the growing installation. Look at Haven Port, she said softly. They're starting to modify their own structures. Rex turned to the main viewport. The collective's pristine port was changing. Salvaged technology appeared in previously perfect towers. Modified energy systems created new patterns of light and shadow. The rigid geometry remained, but now it incorporated organic elements, creating something new and beautiful. Incoming priority message, Martinez called. You're going to want to see this. The screen lit up with a view of the collective's central manufacturing facility. But instead of the perfect assembly lines Rex expected, she saw something revolutionary. They were breaking down their own, flawed technology, learning to repurpose components in ways that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. Our efficiency has increased by 300%, the facility administrator reported, their features showing excitement rather than their usual rigid control. By integrating salvaged components and allowing for adaptive modification, we've reduced our resource consumption by 60%. The supply chain crisis is solving itself. Rex smiled, remembering her mother's words about everything wanting to grow. You're not just solving a crisis, she said. You're evolving. Your whole civilization is learning to adapt. Thanks to you, the administrator said. To all of you, we never understood before why humans seem to thrive in conditions that should have been impossible. How you could build functioning technology from what we considered waste. But now you're starting to see what we've always seen, Rex finished. The potential in everything, the way broken things can become something new. She watched as more collective ships arrived, each one slightly different from the last. Their crews had begun modifying their vessels, incorporating salvaged technology in ways that improved rather than corrupted their function. The changes were subtle at first, a modified sensor here, a repurposed power coupling there. But they were spreading, growing, evolving. Rex, Sarah called from her station. Remember that quantum core I found last week, the one you said had an unusual resonance pattern? The one that was singing? Rex moved to Sarah's station, remembering how her mother had once said the same thing about a similar piece of technology. Look at this, Sarah brought up a diagnostic display. The collective engineers helped me analyze it. That resonance pattern, it's not random. It's like the core adapted to communicate with other systems. Like it learned. Rex studied the readings, seeing patterns she'd never noticed before. They're right, she said softly. Technology does learn, does adapt. We just had to learn to listen to it. Junie joined them, her scarred hands moving over the diagnostic display. It's not just that core, she said. Look at these readings from across the garden. Every piece we've salvaged, every component we've repurposed, they're all starting to resonate together. The whole structure is evolving. Rex thought about the implications. The garden wasn't just a collection of salvaged tech anymore. It was becoming something new, something that neither humans nor the collective had imagined possible. A hybrid technology that grew and adapted on its own. First administrator is requesting permission to board, Martinez reported. Says they want to see this for themselves. Rex straightened her salvage suit, feeling the familiar comfort of its patched surfaces. Tell them to come aboard. It's time they saw what their garbage can really do. The administrator arrived wearing one of their own environmental suits, but Rex noticed it had been modified with salvaged components. The crystalline figure moved with new grace through the pattern recognition's corridors, no longer showing disdain for the ship's patchwork construction. Your vessel, they said, touching a wall where different materials had been seamlessly integrated. I never understood before. We saw these hybrid constructions as crude, imperfect, but now I can feel the harmonies, the way each piece strengthens the others. That's what salvage work is really about, Rex said, leading them to the engineering station. Not just fixing broken things, but letting them become something new, something better. Junie pulled up the readings from the quantum core, showing how its resonance patterns had spread throughout the garden. The administrator's features shifted in complex ways as they studied the data. It's alive, they said finally, not in the biological sense, but the technology is evolving, growing, becoming more than the sum of its parts. They turned to Rex. Is this what you saw all those years when we called you scavengers? Rex smiled, remembering her mother's patient lessons. We saw potential in everything, in everyone, even in civilizations too focused on perfection to recognize their own capacity for growth. Around them, the pattern recognition hummed with energy, its salvaged systems working in harmony. Through the viewports, they could see the garden continuing to evolve, its structure becoming more complex, more beautiful, as collective engineers worked alongside human salvage crews. We're receiving requests, the administrator said, from every sector of collective space. They all want to learn these techniques, to understand how to repurpose rather than discard, to grow. Then we'll teach them, Rex said simply. That's what humans do. We take broken things and make them whole again. Sometimes that includes civilizations. She thought of her mother, of all the lessons learned in those early days of salvage. How every piece of broken tech had a story to tell, a new purpose to fulfill. How nothing was ever truly lost if you knew how to listen, how to adapt, how to grow. The administrator's features shifted into entirely new patterns, ones that would have been impossible in their rigid geometric past. We called you scavengers, they said softly. We never understood you were really gardeners, growing new possibilities from what we thought was dead. Rex touched her viewport, feeling the familiar vibrations of salvaged tech working in harmony. Everything wants to grow, she said, quoting her mother one last time. Even broken things, sometimes especially broken things. In the space around them, the garden continued to evolve, its quantum networks pulsing with new life. Each piece of salvaged tech contributed its own unique resonance to the whole, creating something that was neither human nor collective, but something entirely new. And in Havenport's perfect towers, change spread like a gentle wave. Crystalline structures learned to bend rather than break. Rigid patterns gained new complexity. A civilization built on perfection learned the beauty of adaptation, the strength of imperfection, the joy of growth. They called us scavengers, Rex thought, watching her mixed human and collective crew work together. We built empires from their trash, but more importantly, they'd built understanding, built bridges between perfection and possibility, built a future where nothing and no one was ever truly thrown away. That, she decided, was the greatest salvage of all. In the months that followed, the revolution spread far beyond Haven's shadow. Rex watched it unfold from the pattern recognition's bridge, each day bringing new reports of change and adaptation across collective space. Their perfect crystalline cities began incorporating salvage technology, creating hybrid structures that were stronger and more efficient than their original designs. Their ships evolved, each one becoming unique as crews learned to modify and improve their vessels with repurposed components. But more importantly, the collective itself was changing. Their rigid geometric patterns became more fluid, more adaptive. They learned to see beauty in asymmetry, strength in imperfection, possibility in change. Another shipment of students arriving, Martinez reported one morning, his screens showing a fleet of modified collective vessels approaching Haven's shadow. This bunch is from the outer colonies. They've been waiting months for training slots. Rex nodded, watching the ships navigate the debris field with growing confidence. Their movements were no longer the perfect formations of the past, but something more organic, more alive. They're already learning, she said, noting how each ship showed signs of modification and adaptation. Look at their hull configurations, they're starting to experiment on their own. Junie looked up from where she was teaching a group of collective engineers the finer points of quantum core integration. They're doing more than experimenting, she said proudly. That group from last month, they just sent me designs for a new type of power distribution system. It combines our salvage techniques with their crystalline technology in ways I never thought of. That's the point, isn't it? Rex said, smiling. We're not just teaching them our ways, we're learning from them too, growing together. Anna's augmented eyes tracked energy patterns across their expanding installation. What had started as the garden had grown into something much more. A living laboratory where human ingenuity and collective precision worked in harmony. Rex, Sarah called from her station. Remember that theory about technology learning to communicate? Look at these readings from the latest core network. Rex moved to Sarah's screen, studying the complex patterns of energy and resonance. The quantum cores they'd salvaged weren't just working together anymore, they were creating entirely new ways of processing and sharing information. It's like they're talking to each other, Sarah said excitedly. Not just the cores, but all the different systems we've integrated. They're finding ways to work together that nobody programmed. They're evolving. Rex thought about her mother, about those early lessons in seeing potential in everything. She wondered what Sarah Rex Cooper would think of this. A civilization of perfect crystalline beings learning to embrace imperfection, to find strength in adaptation, to see beauty in broken things. Incoming message from First Administrator, Martinez called. They're at the manufacturing facility, say they want to show you something. The screen lit up, showing not just the administrator but an entire team of collective engineers. Their features shifted with excitement as they moved aside, revealing what they'd built. It was a ship, but unlike anything Rex had ever seen. Crystalline structures flowed seamlessly into salvaged components, each piece enhancing the others. Energy patterns pulsed through its hull like blood through veins, each system adapting and responding to the others. We call it the evolution, the administrator said, their features showing pride without a trace of their former rigid perfection. The first of a new class of vessels that grows and adapts with its crew. A combination of everything we've learned from you and everything we knew but were afraid to try. Rex studied the ship, seeing how they'd incorporated principles from both cultures. The precision of collective engineering merged with the adaptability of human salvage techniques. It wasn't perfect, but that was exactly what made it beautiful. What do you think? The administrator asked, and Rex heard the echo of a student seeking a teacher's approval. I think, Rex said slowly, that my mother was right. Everything wants to grow, even broken things, sometimes especially broken things, she smiled. But you're not broken anymore, are you? You're just becoming something new. The administrator's features shifted into patterns that would have been impossible months ago, complex, asymmetrical, alive with possibility. Thanks to you, to all of you. You showed us that perfection isn't about being flawless. It's about learning to grow, to adapt, to become more than we were. Rex touched her viewport, feeling the familiar vibrations of the pattern recognition's salvaged systems. Around them, the garden hummed with energy, its hybrid technology continuing to evolve in ways neither humans nor the collective had imagined possible. They called us scavengers, she thought one last time. We built empires from their trash. But what they'd really built was something far more precious. A future where nothing was ever truly broken, where every piece of technology and every civilization had the chance to grow into something new. In the end, that was the greatest lesson of salvage work. Not just how to fix broken things, but how to help them become what they were always meant to be. Everything wants to grow, her mother had said, even broken things. sometimes especially broken things. Looking at what they'd built, not just the technology, but the understanding between species, Rex knew her mother had been right all along. The news spread across known space faster than any wormhole could carry it. The crystalline collective, that bastion of rigid perfection, had changed. Other species watched in fascination as collective ships began appearing in ports across the galaxy, each one modified, adapted, alive with new possibilities. "We're getting requests from beyond collective space now," Martinez reported one morning. "The hegemony wants to know if we'll accept their engineers for training. Even the drift clans are asking about salvage techniques." Rex stood at her familiar spot by the viewport, watching the latest group of students practicing basic salvage operations. Among the collective's crystalline forms, she now saw the towering shapes of hegemony crews and the ethereal wisps of drift clan observers. "Accept them all," she said, "but make sure they understand our conditions. This isn't about gaining an advantage or learning new weapons technology. It's about learning to see potential in everything and everyone." Anna's augmented eyes tracked the patterns of ships moving through Haven's shadow. "The hegemony's already starting to adapt," she noted. "Look at their latest vessel designs. They're incorporating salvaged components in ways that actually improve their biomechanical systems." "Of course they are," Junie said from her engineering station. "Once you start seeing the possibilities, you can't stop seeing them. It's like," she paused, hands deep in the guts of a hybrid power core. "It's like learning to read. Once you know how, you can't look at words without reading them." Rex smiled, remembering her mother saying something similar. "Speaking of reading," she said, "show them the latest data from the Evolution Project." The screen filled with streaming information as Junie pulled up the telemetry from the collective's prototype vessel. The Evolution had grown beyond its original design, its hybrid systems developing in ways that surprised even its creators. "It's not just adapting anymore," Junie explained to their gathered students. "It's teaching us. Every modification we make leads to new possibilities we never considered. The ship isn't just growing, it's helping us grow too." A Drift Clan observer drifted closer, their ethereal form rippling with interest. "This challenges everything we believed about technology," they said, their translated voice filled with wonder. "We thought machines could only be what we made them, but this suggests they have their own kind of life, their own way of evolving. Everything wants to grow," Rex said, quoting her mother once again. "Even broken things, sometimes especially broken things, we just have to learn to listen, to understand what each piece of technology is trying to become." The pattern recognition hummed around them, its salvaged systems a testament to that philosophy. Each component had its own story, its own journey from discarded trash to vital part of something greater. "Incoming transmission," Martinez called. "First administrator wants to show us something at Haven Port." The main screen shifted to show Haven Port's central plaza. Rex caught her breath. The once perfect crystalline towers had transformed into something extraordinary. Salvaged technology merged seamlessly with living crystal, creating structures that grew and adapted to their inhabitants' needs. Energy flowed through repurposed conduits like blood through veins, each system enhancing the others. "Beautiful, isn't it?" the administrator said, their features shifting in patterns that expressed both pride and humility. "We've learned that true beauty isn't in perfection. It's in the way different elements work together, strengthen each other, grow into something new." Rex watched as beings from a dozen different species moved through the plaza, each contributing their own understanding of technology and adaptation to the growing synthesis of ideas. "We're receiving reports from across collective space," the administrator continued. "Every sector, every colony, they're all finding new ways to grow, to adapt, to become more than they were, and it's spreading beyond our borders. The hegemony, the drift clans, even the solitary minds are beginning to understand." "Understand what?" Rex asked, though she already knew the answer. "That nothing is ever truly broken," the administrator said. "That every piece of technology, every civilization, every being has the potential to become something more, something new, something beautiful." Rex thought of her mother, of those first lessons in seeing patterns in chaos, potential in wreckage. She thought of all the salvage crews who had worked in secret, building the garden piece by piece. Of all the civilizations now learning to see beauty in imperfection, strength in adaptation, possibility in change. They called us scavengers, she thought, watching species that had once despised each other working together to build something new. We built empires from their trash, but what they'd really built was hope. Hope that nothing was ever truly lost. That every broken piece could find a new purpose. That every civilization could learn to grow beyond its limitations. The pattern recognition's salvaged heart beat steady and strong, each imperfect piece contributing to the whole. Through the viewport, Rex watched the next generation of students begin their lessons in seeing possibility where others saw only waste. Everything wants to grow, her mother had said. Even broken things, sometimes especially broken things. Looking at what they'd built, not just the technology, but the bridges between species, the understanding that transcended old prejudices. Rex knew that those words would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Not as a lesson in salvage work, but as a testament to the power of seeing potential in everything. In everyone. In every broken, discarded, forgotten thing that just needed a chance to become something new. That was the true power of humanity. Not our technology or our adaptability or our resilience, though those things mattered, but our ability to see possibility where others saw only endings. To build hope from wreckage. To teach others that imperfection wasn't a flaw, but the first step toward becoming something more than anyone had imagined possible. They called us scavengers. We built empires from their trash. And in doing so, we helped the galaxy learn to grow beyond its own limitations, one salvaged piece at a time.